What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And our returning guest, wrestling media personality, Ella J, coming back for her second visit to the tavern. How's it going?
It's going really well. I'm so happy to be back. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Great to have you. I know you're super busy. You're popping up everywhere. You're going to these events. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in your world since the last time you came on the show.
Yeah, so the last time I think was like May, right? So that was like just after Mania. Since then I went to obviously Nashville, Tennessee for SummerSlam and StarCast and all of that. And coming up in a few weeks, I'll be at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view in Albany, which is their biggest event of the year. So I'm super excited for that. Obviously, I've brought on some new projects and all of that, and might have some new stuff on the horizon, but I'm just been trying to keep busy and trying to, make this thing full time. Hopefully soon.
That's awesome. Hustling. We love it.
We love a good hustle.
Yeah. So where can everyone find, like, if they want to follow along what you're doing, where do you recommend they follow you on social media?
Honestly, I'm most active on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm on the Bird app like all the time. It's Ella J. I'm still debating if I should make all my handles that, but that's where you could easiest find me. If not, you can go to the link tree in my bio that has my handles for Instagram, and you can check out all the links to my podcast and all my other projects in the link on any of my social medias.
Awesome. That's awesome. Go follow, guys. A lot of cool stuff going on with Ella. So, Sneed, we got some topics, don't we?
Yeah, I think we have 3 brand new topics to get into. You've been at the debate table before, so you know the rules. I say we get into it. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Go.
All right. First topic of the evening. With reports of more WWE superstars returning, is it a problem that Triple H is bringing them back?
I guess that's to be determined. If they're used right, like WWE, I felt like their roster's been short for a while. Triple H has been bringing people back, and it's keeping things fresh. I look forward to more people being back to intertwine and do more things. I felt like that's why for a while it was rematch after rematch after rematch on Raw and SmackDown, and it's fresh to see like new matches every week. I'm not used to that watching WWE. So
I feel like the rematch thing was a problem well before they gutted that place, though, too.
Yeah.
Then they just ran out of people because they fired half the roster. So
Yeah.
I feel like you also have people on hiatuses too, or you have champions that aren't full time anymore. So you've backed yourself into a corner with firing someone. It's not Triple H that fired all those people, but after they fired, they had that mass let go around WrestleMania in like May and even late last year too. And with Roman Reigns not being there all the time, you kind of had the same matches every so often. Plus the injury bug happened. Randy Orton got injured. Cody Rhodes got injured. There was Becky Lynch has gotten injured. I feel like too, I don't see it as a problem right now because like you said, there are a lot of fresh matchups. For me, it becomes a problem depending who the talent is. Say like, some people were excited Braun Strowman came back. Me personally, I was not. So for me, it also depends kind of on which talent you're bringing back. And they've brought back some great talent like a Dakota Kai and Io Sky, a Johnny Gargano. Karrion Kross is back. Dexter Lumis is back. Obviously, Braun Strowman is back. So for me, it kind of also depends like who you're bringing back, because some people have like problematic behavior on like social media and all of that you don't really you don't really want to showcase, or hopefully you wouldn't want to showcase. So for me right now, I don't see it as a problem bringing back talent. It freshens things up, especially when they're down, at least in the world title picture, down because of injury or down because people are on hiatus too. Even in the SmackDown women's division, Charlotte's gone, Sasha's gone, Naomi's gone. So they've kind of also needed people to kind of step up in that scenario too.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, because I think I love the freshness of everything. Plus, we have to remember, this isn't Vince bringing these people back. This is a whole quote unquote new regime for the most part. It does seem like Triple H is kind of in control with some of the changes he's making. I mean, the fact that he's hiring some of these people shows you he's in control. The way he brought back Karrion Kross and Scarlett in such a big way, and we're seeing the version of them that he kind of built in NXT. So I think a lot of that is exciting. You kind of said, Ella, that it's not bringing anyone back. It's who they're bringing back that makes it matter to you. In if you're in for it or out on it. For me, it's not even just who they're bringing back. It's how they're using the people they bring back. Because like, if you thicken up that roster, we see it in AEW. They brought in this influx of talent. I think it's just a natural thing in the business. If you have a loaded roster, there are going to be people that aren't happy. There's going to be those people that just find themselves at the catering table more so than being in front of the camera. So I do like that they have people to kind of step up and tell stories while the Roman Reigns of the world take a lighter schedule. But it does make me a little concerned of like, I don't want to see Braun Strowman pushed towards the top. Also, I don't want to see Johnny Gargano feuding with Drew Gulak. And that's all I want to see these people that maybe the fans want to see in a more prominent role, push them up. So for me, it's how they're being used. If Gargano's being brought back and we hardly ever see him, and I just think of like prior to the pandemic, when their roster was so loaded, it almost seemed like they were scooping up people just to keep them from signing to AEW.
That is definitely
stages.
what they were doing too.
Exactly. So it's like, you had people like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel that were literally just not seen for months and months and months. Yeah. I'm not a fan of any company, whether it's WWE, AEW, signing people and then not allowing those people to ply their trade in front of the camera. I think a lot of that's going on in AEW. A lot of that was going on in WWE prior to Triple H. So that's what I'm kind of concerned with.
You have a guy like Dexter Lumis. I really didn't watch NXT, so I'm like, why are they bringing this guy back? But by now, I've caught an interest in the guy after watching the weekly story. So he's using the guys right so far. I'm curious to see guys like the Good Brothers. They're out there. They're free agents now. We know what they said after they got fired about Vince, but Vince isn't there anymore. That'd be a huge boost to the tag team division if Triple H could go and get them back here. And like, we don't know who he has lined up to come back. So it's kind of fun waiting to see who it is too.
I feel like the tag team division, like, I would think is the WWE, the men's division, I should specify. Yeah. I feel like their men's tag team division is arguably like their strongest division, because there is nobody really in the championship scene like that's very consistent, because Roman Reigns isn't there half the time. So you've had teams step up. Hit Row is back now. Obviously, the New Day, the Usos, Alpha Academy, the Street Profits. We saw the Brawling Brutes. We saw Imperium now. So I think that their tag team division has been the most thriving and most consistent, the men's tag team division in WWE. So there's a lot of free agents available now on both spectrums, whether it's the Good Brothers or, for me, like a Tenille Dashwood came to mind. Her Impact contract expired. She would be a great addition if they brought her back. There's a lot of possibilities, and people even still that were let go that are kind of just floating around due to like visa issues, like a Portia Parada and like Tegan Knox first come to mind.
Yeah,
they're kind of just floating around. Steph DeLander, Portia Parada's been doing more. Tegan Knox just basically has been sitting at the wasteland. So it's also who they bring back and a combination of how they bring them back too.
The concern for me, it was when Braun Strowman was brought back. That's when the concern kind of set in. And it's just, for me, if I'm somebody that's been there for a long time and I see Braun Strowman come back, I'm going to be a little upset. And it is and it is all in how you use who you bring back. And it's just the concern with bringing so many people. But I know, Tom, you said the roster was kind of light, but I don't think the roster is light. It doesn't seem, I mean, I know we get rematch after rematch, but there's so many. The concern for me is not building new stars.
Right.
And when you've had people that's there and they're putting their time in, and then we, like Chad, you said it, we've seen it in AEW. When you have these talents that are putting in the time, and then you see a Braun Strowman come back, that's a hit to morale. I would imagine that would be a hit to morale.
And with Braun, it's like, I don't like the guy, but 2017 when he was flipping over ambulances, that was a fun period in his career.
Yeah.
But then when he got released and he gets on social media and he starts attacking independent wrestlers, Evil Uno comes to mind, that back and forth he had with Evil Uno, kind of his politics really coming front and center on social media. I think that soured me on him a lot. And the way he was kind of defiant and disrespectful to the fan base, the people who made him who he is in a way, that's what rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, and especially too, you were talking about them creating new stars. It's hard to do that when your whole division around the championship picture on either roster isn't there. You get every so often one challenger going after Roman Reigns. You literally basically the United States champ, like Bobby Lashley has basically been carrying like the main championship in WWE when Roman has been gone. So the main picture has been, I feel like, around the United States championship and like the mid-card titles. So you're already eradicating an entire like story, an entire picture there, an entire possible contenders in there. And I don't know. I feel like it breaks it down and limits I don't know. They're not creating new, I don't know how to explain it, but they're basically like taking away a whole set of stars that they could be creating because there is no title picture around.
No, you're spot on, because the fact that we don't have storylines going on in that main event scene outside of what appears to be, Roman is just kind of there, and then they'll pluck someone and choose that person for whatever. I mean, now we're seeing Logan Paul, of all people, be and we're going to get to that in the main event of the debate. But you pluck a guy out and put him against your main event guy, but I feel like there's no building stories of who's that next guy. Everyone right now is like, it's almost like we're in a holding pattern of waiting for Cody Rhodes to return, and he's going to be that guy for Roman.
Yeah, and like I said earlier to the hindrances with the injury bug, where Randy Orton got injured, Cody Rhodes got injured, which led them to having go to plan C for SummerSlam being Brock Lesnar. And then you got Brock and Roman again. You got Drew. Drew's been a legit contender, so Drew made a little bit of sense. They had a little bit of period of time where Riddle was being pushed as a newer star, which for me made sense. But then now we're just, like you said, at this point of where waiting for Roman Reigns. You have 4 months to fill before basically it just filler months basically right now, just going through the motions until maybe, we're just speculating, Cody returns in January, early next year. You have 4 months of stuff you already know is going to happen, and there's no legit contenders right now who could even believably beat Roman. And the guy who I think could hasn't even received his championship rematch from earlier this year, Bobby Lashley, and he's carrying the United States Championship. They didn't even follow up with that when they easily could have, but I digress.
I think the part-time schedule of Roman actually works right now because they don't have the challenges for him. It actually kind of saves them. But what if they're building up Lashley to go on this great run with the U.S. title to eventually challenge Roman?
I would hope so, but for me right now, I feel like it should have already happened. Bobby won the championship, back in January?
Right.
Hasn't even gotten a rematch. It's been 9 months.
Yeah.
Build these people that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't think we need anybody else coming in. I don't, all these names that we've talked about, I don't see why we're not, and I'm not the biggest fan of a part-time champion. I think the champion should be there. Your championship should be front and center. Like that should be your focus.
Especially when they're holding both championships. It's not just like, oh, you
Yep.
don't have the main
Exactly.
champion on one show. You don't have the main champion on either show. And a guy like a Seth Rollins has basically, I would say Seth and Bobby have arguably been carrying Monday Night Raw. And
Oh,
Seth
yeah.
Rollins hasn't touched a championship in a long, long time. And so for me, he's been carrying it and he hasn't even had a championship. So it is what it is.
And it's
And
kind of
people
the.
always-
Go ahead, Sneed.
I was just people always go back to Hogan not being there all the time, but back then we didn't have all the programming that we have now.
Very true.
Exactly.
Very
There's no
true.
reason why Roman can't make an appearance a week. He doesn't have to do both shows every week, but he should at least be on one show every week.
There's 5 fucking hours of TV. You can't not have the champion on any of that TV.
Right. And I find it funny because like it just shows, and both sides of fandom is guilty of this. But this is one of the major critiques from people critiquing AEW is their title doesn't feel up front and center, where I do think Roman feels like a big deal. They do a good job of making Roman feel like a big deal. I agree with that. But at the same time, like he's not, their title isn't front and center to me. Like it isn't like, we come from Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, where that title, it was almost like, that's what carried your show. And I don't feel like having both of your world titles on one guy who's part-time essentially. I think that hurts you just a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, I am digging the new era, the Triple H Stephanie McMahon era. I'm loving it. That's why if this was Vince, I would have a totally different take, but I'm excited to see where they're going. And Karrion Kross, I feel like if handled correctly, man, that's a main event dude. And I think they've been booking him like that.
Mm-hmm.
Put him up in that title scene. I would love to see Karrion Kross, Roman Reigns at some point.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
We've been hurt. And,
Yeah.
and cautiously optimistic is where I stand on it right now.
I feel like a lot of these people that have been brought back were also unjustly let go. Like Dakota Kai literally made no sense to me. She had just won the women's tag team championships for NXT. She was literally filming dark matches at SmackDown in the months leading up to that. I believe she was literally there to get reps in kind of for a main roster call up, and then nothing. Dexter Lumis was in the middle of his thing with Indy Hartwell and The Way and Johnny Gargano and Candice and all of that, and then was just let go. Karrion Kross, I mean, his main roster call up was it was a mess. But also he was a guy who had held a lot of gold and I feel like had a lot of backup to his name and was also let go. So a lot of these names so far, with the exception of Strowman, I think for me personally are like kind of righting a wrong in a sense. So thank you, Papa H, for that.
It's no longer Ed booking, it's Vince booking.
Yeah.
All right. So our second topic of the evening. Will Liv Morgan head into 2023 as champion? Ella, this was your question, so I'll defer to you to go first.
The answer is unfortunately no. As much as I want it to be, I mean, I'm wearing my girl today for that. I feel like this whole SmackDown women's division is just arguably weird. It's in a weird state right now without the depth. Like prior to Liv coming to SmackDown, there was like literally no babyface on there besides top babyface besides Ronda Rousey. Charlotte was gone, Sasha was gone, Naomi was gone. 3 of your top 4 stars on SmackDown were gone. And then you had Ronda, who at that time was not a full-time competitor. She would only show up at like the pay-per-views and TVs occasionally too. And so I feel like the influx of Liv Morgan then to SmackDown was a breath of fresh air. But again, there was really nobody besides Liv Morgan right now. They've kind of tried Raquel and Aaliyah to be baby faces, but right now Liv Morgan is your only top baby face. And whereas I feel like SmackDown has a bigger heel roster. And with the retractions of Charlotte, Sasha, and Naomi, it kind of the division is kind of weak. And unfortunately, I think that Liv does not live past October. I don't think she heads into November or December as champion. I think Extreme Rules might be it, unfortunately. Even despite Ronda Rousey saying that she kind of wants other people to be champion, that she doesn't feel like she needs a championship. But I think they're going to strap the title back on Ronda in what's it called? In anticipation of Charlotte returning to kind of run that back.
Do you think that, like you kind of alluded to it, that the belt was put on Liv due to them not having anyone? Everyone was gone, or do you think maybe they are trying to build some other contenders? Because before you answer, like I kind of lean towards what you're saying, Ella, as far as they'll probably take it off, especially when these people start coming back, if and when they come back. But I hope, like, I feel like if they let her keep it at least until the Rumble, she's a bona fide. It's like she is, now we can consider her in that upper echelon of people who could vie for that title at any one time. It elevates her completely, because I don't think just getting the belt, you know, if you're just a quote unquote transitional champion, the fans kind of look at you like that. Like you got to get those big wins under your belt. And I know she beat Ronda, but you know, when Charlotte comes back, have Liv get a win over her. Like, oh shit, she's for real. They're actually viewing her in that upper echelon with the Baileys, the Beckys, the Charlottes, the Sashas. But I kind of worry about that. But back to my question, do you think they just kind of did it out of necessity, put the belt on her? Or do you think they see someone that they can actually put into that upper echelon?
I think it was a
little bit of both.
I see her as a transitional champion. I think they should have pulled the trigger on her. I honestly believe she should have won Money in the Bank last year when Nikki ASH won it, because she was such on a hot streak, and a lot of people were rooting for Liv going into that. I think she had the highest betting odds at that time, and obviously she was on such a hot streak with the crowd being behind her. She went on to that feud with Becky Lynch, and unfortunately those consecutive losses at day one, she had a strong showing in the Rumble, but her going on that run and losing every time it counted, I feel like kind of held her back a little bit, especially when WWE, I think she was at her hottest last year, to be honest with you, / early this year, and she lost every time it counted most. So I don't think, obviously, her star power has dwindled, but for me, when she lost every time it counted most last year, that kind of dwindles her legitimacy and being a believable top player in WWE who could possibly beat a Ronda Rousey, beat a Charlotte Flair, beat a Sasha Banks cleanly without these tactics. Granted, she did beat Shayna. That was hopefully promising to her reign, but also now she's going back against Ronda Rousey in an Extreme Rules match. So granted, it wouldn't be a clean win since there's like weapons use. It's not a traditional like match, but I think we'll know more after this round with Ronda Rousey on October 8th at Extreme Rules. I think that will really be telling. Obviously, if she loses, she's done. But if she beats Ronda at Extreme Rules, I think she's walking into 2023's champ.
She needs to beat Ronda because of the cheap win she got over her the first time. That I felt that hurt her title run. They didn't let her beat her cleanly. It was kind of like, oh, she had Liv in a submission move, but Ronda's shoulders were down. So Liv got the win. It wasn't like she cleanly beat her there either. And she got feedback for that on TV. They booed her after that because of the way that happened. So in order to cement her title reign, they have to have her beat Ronda this time, I think. If she doesn't, then it truly is just a transitional champ, and it really doesn't mean anything in history. Like I said, because she lost all the other big matches she had when she fought Becky. I thought for sure she was going to be Becky back in the beginning of the year. So I'm hoping she gets this win over Ronda. And if she does, I think it cements her reign a little bit and it elevates her some.
Yeah. Yeah. If she beats Ronda, what's that put her 3-0 over her?
Yeah.
Over Ronda?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
yeah.
So if she goes 3-0 over Ronda, then yeah, I do see her going into 2023 as champion. But yeah, I'm with you. That is October 8th is going to say a lot about how they see her run as champion.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ella.
I'm just scared for Extreme Rules. I think this will be really, really telling if she can beat Ronda in kind of a different way other than that questionable ending there. I feel like she needs to get a legit win over that top contender, that top name, to really solidify herself as a legitimate force in the division and not just like luck, you know?
Yeah,
I think the fact that it's an Extreme Rules match actually gives her a better shot at it too than if it's just a pure wrestling match.
Yeah, I think like we kind of alluded to this new regime in the first topic, and to me, that if this was the old regime, I would be very worried for Liv, because they were, you know, you harken back to last year, Ella, of kind of being her year when she was the hottest.
Mhm.
She wasn't put over because for me, I think she wasn't put over because the people in charge.
Yeah.
Now, Triple H to me is a little better at listening to what the fans want. At least that's what it seems like. So I think if you got to, the fan base has to stay behind her, because I think if they keep that enthusiasm behind Liv, I think Stephanie and Triple H are listening to that. And why would you want to take a title off of someone? You know, she's in this program with Ronda. If Ronda ends up taking that, you know, that belt back, it kind of becomes like a forgettable feud to me. Like, what was the point of that if we're just going right back to Ronda Rousey? And I don't think Ronda's felt like she's really been her head in the game in this second run. So for them to like saddle up to Ronda again, Ronda doesn't need a belt, man. She does not need a belt. She can be a personality, but Liv getting that feud over Ronda, then that's how you use Ronda Rousey to me, to elevate people like Liv Morgan into that upper echelon. So I'm, like you said in the first topic, Sneed, cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe they will keep this belt on her at least until the Rumble. Because honestly, if she loses that belt before the Rumble, I think you've kind of dropped the ball on Liv Morgan, because I want to feel like she's up there with the top of the division, and she's yet to kind of, I still have doubts. Every time she has a title match, I have doubts. She doesn't feel like that powerhouse yet, you know?
This reign kind of feels a little like Carmella's reign, where she cashed in on Charlotte the day after Mania. And then when she went to go on to face these, quote, top stars like an Asuka, like a Charlotte, she beat them not cleanly. So that's the only reason why her reign kept continuing, with either outside help from James Ellsworth or in like not clean finishes. And so I feel like either, even if she does get past Ronda at Extreme Rules, I mean, they can use that to her advantage, where she has the weapons advantage. It's like an unconventional match. I fear, though, as much as I love Charlotte too, I feel like once Charlotte Flair returns into the mix, assuming Liv is still champion, Liv's chances of staying champion for a while highly plummets. So for me, this kind of feels like a Carmella reign in that sense.
Yeah, and the big thing with that comparison is like a heel can get away with a lot more shaky finishes, but a baby face, I mean, even heels eventually have to get those clean wins. Even if you're a heel, you can get away with some dastardly shit, but we're not going to take you serious as a serious like top guy unless you're finishing dudes clean. So I feel like for a baby face, the clean wins really matter even that much more. Like Carmella kind of got away with a little bit more because she was a heel. She had Ellsworth doing stuff for her. So it felt a little more natural.
This might be maybe a future debate topic, but we can, I mean, what do you think? What does more for someone? Does a Money in the Bank run, or does a championship run? Because I think if she would have kept that Money in the Bank for a while, I think that would have done probably more to build her instead of just instantly cashing in.
I feel like at that time, though, there was literally no legitimate contenders believably could beat Ronda Rousey, with Charlotte being out, Sasha and Naomi being out. They had Natalya because she's a reliable veteran in there, which made sense. But going forward after that, if there was no Liv Morgan on SmackDown at that time, there was literally nobody that they had built up to be a legit contender. Not saying that they couldn't have done that with like maybe a Lacey Evans or a Raquel, who they've been kind of pushing. But at that time, there was literally nobody who legitimately could believably even beat Ronda Rousey at that point.
I mean, a big Money in the Bank run. It depends on how they book the Money in the Bank, Steve, because like if you're getting a Seth Rollins run with where that prop, that briefcase really becomes a prop, and you're coming out there and you're teasing it and you're talking your shit. I mean, that's one of the greatest Money in the Bank runs up to his cash in at Mania. But if you're just kind of like, a lot of times the Money in the Bank leaves a lot to be desired with me. I love when they have them hold it for a long time and they use it to play psychological warfare with the champions. That's what I love with that briefcase. And a lot of times it feels like, a lot of times Money in the Bank feels to me like it's an easy out when you're in a tough situation. Like if you have people go down on injury, or if you don't have a contender, it's like, hey, just have him cash in, you know?
Yeah. Tom, how you feel about it?
I actually liked her cash in, because the way it looked, she came out, she attacked Ronda, but then Ronda got the upper hand. So you're thinking, oh no, she's not going to cash in.
Yes, I was so scared in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think, oh no, they're going to blow it. And then like it was a nice pop when she actually beat her anyway. Yeah. So I did like the way they handled this cash in for her. And again, I'd like to see her beat Ronda. I want her to solidify it with a good win over her, even if she's destroying her with weapons. You know, that's fine. Just let her get the clean. Not that it's a clean pin, but you know, it's Ronda could beat her with weapons too. So let it be what it is, and let her let her last to Royal Rumble. Let her solidify the run.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
So let's just go around the horn one last time. 2023, January 1st, 2023, will Liv be the champion? I say, I'm going to be Mr. Optimistic. I'm going to say yes.
I'm going yes.
I'd say yes.
I don't think so. I feel like after, if she beats Ronda Rousey, then at Extreme Rules, then I will say yes. However, at this time, I don't feel I'm confident enough to say that, because there's so many other factors, like Charlotte possibly coming back. Is Ronda just going to win at Extreme Rules? So ask me on October 9th and I'll give you my answer.
And you're the one wearing the Liv Morgan shirt.
I know. I feel like I'm just so desensitized to my favorites. Like I'm just so used to my favorites losing or just like being robbed, you know?
We're jaded. We're all jaded.
Yeah.
All right. So our final topic of the evening. Speaking of jaded, Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns. Are you in or out?
Out. I'm out. I don't even care at all. I mean, I hope it brings people in, because I know he has a huge following on social media. It'd be great for WWE if it does, but for us people who like are big wrestling fans, I could care less. I know everybody's go, he had a great 2 matches so far, and he did, but no, I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Can I go last? Because I actually kind of had a debate about this on a show I just did actually on Friday about this on Women's Wrestling Talk, and I was the only one.
All right.
I'll go. I'm actually in on this, and I'm in for the reason of and don't get me wrong, I hate Logan Paul. I absolutely do not like this guy at all. But what are we going to do with Roman Reigns right now? There's nothing to do with him, because we all know what the fuck we're waiting for.
Cody.
So at this point, why not take the opportunity to get all of these eyes on you and have a big event, a big build up for a match? And because if you put anybody else in there, it's just going to be another forgettable feud. So if you put somebody in there, everybody in the world knows that Logan Paul's not going to beat Roman Reigns for this championship. Yeah. But it's going to get a lot of eyes. It's going to be good for their business. So, I mean, at that point, I mean, I'm in for them doing that.
Man, that's some good points there, Sneed. I'm not a big Logan Paul hater. Like I know like everyone hates on him. I think his two matches in WWE are phenomenal. Like I think everyone talks about Bad Bunny being this standout guy, and that's cool. He stepped up. He's a big wrestling fan, but to me, no one, Pat McAfee included, no one has looked like a pro wrestler more from an outsider coming in to do wrestling than Logan Paul. Those two matches, he looks like he's got the body. Some of them, he's fluid in the ring.
He's conditioned for boxing. I mean,
yeah. He wrestled in high school. I mean, he's got a great pedigree. Like you said, he's going to bring eyes to the product. What are they going to do with Roman? I get all that, but I hate this. I hate this. The only thing that makes me think it's okay is that it's a Saudi show. The fact that it's in Saudi makes me like, okay, if you're going to do anything like this, do it in Saudi Arabia, because let's be honest, those shows have always kind of felt like they're a little bit outside of the WWE storytelling. Just, I'm not saying, they tell stories over there, but it never feels like it's a part of the through line of the main pay-per-views.
You're bringing a spectacle.
Yeah, it seems like, hey, let's bring Shawn Michaels out of retirement, put him with Triple H and do Brothers of Destruction tag team match. They do stuff like that. So that makes me like not as bad about it. But if they did this at Survivor Series or even Extreme Rules or anything like this, I would be shredding this because it's so like dudes had two matches. At this point, though, you're booking this strictly off of this guy has 30 million social media followers. Like, and that's a great point, Sneed. Like, we're all waiting for Cody. Cody wins the Rumble. We're building towards a Roman Reigns Cody match at Mania. If you can take any of those millions that are Logan Paul fans, get them on the train. That way, when Cody comes back, they're a part of that bigger story. For a business move, that's a pretty smart business move. But I will say this does have just a tinge of Vince McMahon booking to me. Hey, that guy's popular. Throw him in the ring. I don't know. I'm kind of riding the fence. I'm not a big fan of it with Tom. Like, I'm not big on it, but it's a Saudi show. I can look the other way for a month, and I do think Logan's good, man. I think the kid is dedicated to WWE too. I don't think this is a Bad Bunny situation. I think this guy's going to be around for a few years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you were saying. As somebody who is way over this Roman reign, I feel like after Clash at the Castle came very abundantly clear that nobody is touching Roman Reigns until next year. And obviously that report came out too, that there's no plans for either of the titles to change hands, which leaves us to already knowing what's going to happen. And if we already know what's going to happen, why even put any contenders in front of Roman Reigns right now? As right now, there really isn't any legitimate contenders right now in the hunt. Drew already had that devastating loss. Bobby is already preoccupied with the United States Championship. Maybe they could run back Seth Rollins, but Survivor Series is also right around the corner, so there's not many pay-per-views in front of you that you can. And plus, Roman isn't going to be back until Saudi, and then Survivor Series, I believe. So Roman Reigns isn't even going to be around in October. So having your next contender be somebody who, do we believe is going to beat him? No. So you might as well make it a spectacle, make people have money invested and bring in a new audience and bring in that chingle, as they say. And especially too with Logan Paul, I am not somebody who was like a previous Logan Paul fan and still not the biggest fan. However, after got to see him wrestle at WrestleMania and at SummerSlam, that man can wrestle. Granted, he was going against The Miz, could also make him look good, Rey Mysterio and all of that. But he pulled out some big moves, especially for somebody who only just started training this year, if very recently within the last year. He put in the work, and I think it's a combination of natural ability and the in-ring work that he's been putting in. He can go, and which is at like a surprising rate. So I think it's going to be a really good match overall. And if we're not going to be watching because we think, oh, Roman is finally going to be dethroned.
Right.
They're bringing in, I don't think we're the target audience for this. It is the bigger mainstream audience, especially for the Saudi show. So if nobody's going to take the title off of Roman, believably, at least you can bring in some extra money. And Logan Paul and Roman, I think, are going to deliver a great match. So for me, that's the reason why I'm leaning more towards in. I think it's going to be a really good match. Am I still frustrated that Roman is still not going to be dethroned? No. But but in anticipation of that, I think they're making the best out of a scenario. And I mean, they're making that Saudi money. So, and also that press conference, from what I saw, was really, really entertaining. So they're making the most out of it, for me personally.
It's hard to say that for me, it's hard to say I'm in on this.
Yeah.
The reasons that I'm in on it because I see the merit in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if it brings some new eyes that stick around, then it's absolutely served its purpose. I would love to see them build Logan Paul to be a heel that's just hateable, and I think that he would excel in that role here.
Well, you got Roman though. You don't want Roman to be a baby face.
No, not here, but maybe if they're going to use him in the future, going after this. I think that'd be fun role.
I think
I wouldn't hate to see Logan Paul maybe run for a mid card title at some point.
No. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
If this means them not putting Karrion Kross or Matt Riddle in the tread of this warpath Roman Reigns is on, I'm all for it. I think Karrion is the whole package with Scarlett and everything like that. That's someone you kind of want to handle really carefully, because that's someone who could be a top opponent for Cody. If Cody ever gets that belt and you want to heel a big, badass, scary heel, build him up slowly. Don't just throw some of these I don't want to say up and comers, because a lot of these guys have been doing it a while, but as far as like up and coming title contenders, don't just throw them for scraps at Roman on his way to facing Cody Rhodes. So if Logan Paul keeps some of these guys who I think could be viable future contenders from just taking an L this early, I think it's a good move.
Who the heck do we think, though, is Roman's opponent at Survivor Series? I've seen a thing where, assuming the Usos retain the championships, that I've seen like the Usos and Roman versus like a tag team match. Who the heck then even stands in front of Roman Reigns? He can't face himself for both championships. So that's also a question mark I have looming too, is who else is in there besides Logan Paul in between Saudi Arabia and the Royal Rumble? That's a question mark I have too.
What I would love to see is Triple H bring back the Survivor Series to the traditional format and have every match be a Survivor Series match.
True.
And you
That'd
could
be
have
fun.
Four of them versus somebody. It just be a lot of fun. And then you build it around each title. Like each champion, like Bobby Lashley could be the head of one team. Something like that. Go back to old school. And I think Triple H, he's so in touch with the old school and he loves that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens.
I don't know if you guys watched SmackDown this last week, although we did see the Bloodline. Obviously, Logan Paul came out, then Ricochet, and then Madcap Moss. So perhaps that was a way of setting up a 5v5 scenario in there. They maybe started planting the seeds to that this early.
I think I don't know if you guys saw the report. I don't know where the report came out, but the report was I think maybe it was WrestleVotes or someone pretty reputable that was talking about how the Roman title situation with both belts is a very intricate situation that they want to get one of those belts off of him. They just don't know how to do it without him taking a loss, because they don't want him to lose And I think on the Raw, our show, The Raw Down, you can watch on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Anthony and them floated a theory that they had heard. I don't know the specifics of it, but essentially it was Roman being in, I believe, a ladder match with both titles hanging over the ring against Seth Rollins. And something happens to where Roman has one belt, Seth has another belt, and they both fall, pulling both belts down at the same time, which would, that's a smart way to handle that situation.
Yeah.
Like where
Or
he's not taking a
multi-man.
loss.
Yeah,
Right.
or a multi-man where he doesn't have to be pinned somehow.
Yeah. So something, I think we're going to see that. Like that might be the Rumble match. I think there's a good possibility coming out of the Rumble in January. One of those belts will be off of Roman. Cody will win the Rumble, and we will know at the end of the Rumble, all roads lead to Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the title, and then that other title will be with whoever ends up getting it.
Should be Seth Rollins or Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
Just saying, but
because Seth Rollins, he notoriously in kayfabe, he has Roman's number.
Yeah.
He's always sneaking them out over Roman. So I feel like that would be, to continue that storyline with Seth.
That'd be fun.
Would be fun.
I'd also really love to see Roman Reigns fight both nights at WrestleMania, whether it's The Rock one night and then Cody, or Cody then The Rock. Somehow build it up.
That would be incredible.
That's what they need to do.
Night one against Cody, night 2 against The Rock.
Yeah. So if the rumors are true that The Rock's going to be there, but I think also what I'd love to see now is Roman come out one of these weeks and cut a promo and say, I hear you all talking about me not being here every week. Listen, when you have the competition for me to be here every week, I'll start showing up again. But right now, you're sending Logan Paul at me. I think that'd be an amazing promo right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and after the press, because I watched some from the press conference too. I can see this being kind of a fun build up too.
Dude, say what you want. Like, I was one of the people on the Roman Reigns bash train early on when they were trying to push him down our throats.
Oh yeah,
I was
That's
not
still me.
Oh, I was not in on Roman at all. I hated Roman, but one thing I will say, man, this coming out of the pandemic, especially this last year, the dude on the mic, he has an aura now. It's supreme confidence when he's on that mic. Like, he is not the same guy that was saying suffering succotash back in like 2015, 2016. It's a totally different guy. It's exciting. I just want to see how they handle this 2 belt situation. You've got rumors of The Rock looming. Obviously, the Cody watch is at an all-time high. You've got Carrion in the wings. There's even been little rumors. I don't know if you guys have seen the White Rabbit playing in arenas lately. Yeah. What's that dealing with? Is that Bray? Is that kind of tipping the cap to one of Carrion's old characters in Lucha Underground, the White Rabbit? Like, there's a lot of interesting things happening in the world of WWE right now.
It just shows you like how Triple H knows what he's doing. They just played that song a couple of times, but yet it's all over the internet. It's got people talking already. So getting talking is a good thing.
Absolutely. What do you think, Ella? Before we get off, have you seen the White Rabbit, the Jefferson?
I just saw a tweet, like literally right before we got on here, of somebody tweeting that, like the White Rabbit, and then there was a response about Bray Wyatt, and also I think about Karrion Kross too, though. However, Karrion Kross is kind of preoccupied with Drew McIntyre right now, so not to say that it could happen in the future. Right. But I like these little like droplets, these little nuggets of like sneak peeks and like info. So
and I love that I feel like Triple H is taste testing that with the crowd. It's not on live TV. They're probably getting the music down, like planting little tiny seeds to see how the crowd would react, but it definitely has my interest.
Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead, Tom.
I said it's fun to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Ella, tell everybody where they can find you on your social medias, how they can follow you.
You can follow me on Twitter. That's where I am most active, at It's Ella J. That's ITSELLAJEY. If you go to the link tree in my bio, you can find all my links to Instagram, my podcast link, and all the other projects that I am working on.
Awesome.
Well, it's been awesome having you back. We'll definitely have to have you back on Again, it's
Yeah.
always a fun time.
You got to be in the rotation.
Yeah.
It's always a fun discussion.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me again. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. Make sure you guys are following us at theturnbuckletavern.com for all of your tavern needs. Tom, this is your time to shine, bud. We've got a couple seconds to go.
OG Fig Kid, Twitter and Instagram, Fig Night, 7 p.m. on Tuesday, and Turnbuckle Sessions now on Wednesday.
All right. Court is